Today we're going to talk about how to achieve faster funnel velocity for your startup. What is funnel velocity? It is all about how fast your prospect moves from awareness to a closed state. At Dippity Digital, we've helped SaaS and AI tech startups shorten their sales cycle, close more deals, and scale growth quickly. In this video, we're going to show you how you can speed up your funnel and turn friction into flow seamlessly. Now, who am I? Why should you listen to me? My name is Morgan Von Druitt. I've spent the past 10 years running the gauntlet from bootstrap startups all the way to multi-billion-dollar enterprises, where my campaigns have been responsible for over $1.3 billion in revenue. Today, I run Dippity Digital, a boutique marketing agency that services AI startups, and my primary client is currently the largest pre-revenue startup in history, Clover.ai. Let's get started. Section 1. Identify and diagnose bottlenecks. You can't improve what you don't measure. Funnel leaks aren't always this loud, screaming red flag that demands being paid attention to. They're usually something that's subtle and quiet. It's not somebody screaming saying, "Hey, I hate your demo, make it better." It's generally somebody silently bouncing, ghosting your sales reps, or spending too long stuck in the same stage. Over time, those small moments, those silent drips out of your funnel, compound into massive revenue losses that you don't notice until you're having to lay off 20% of your team. This is why the first step in speeding up your funnel isn't content, it isn't ads or automation, it's diagnosis. You need to know exactly where your leads stall and why. Start with your tech stack. If you're not running tools like Mixpanel, GA4, FullStory, or Hotjar, you're just flying blind and hoping that something lands. These tools give you direct visibility into user flow, scroll behavior, and drop-off friction in real time. To break this down, use GA4 and Mixpanel to see your user journeys and conversion paths, use Hotjar or FullStory to identify rage clicks, scroll dead zones, or hesitation moments in the user sessions, and set up custom dashboards for bounce rates, CTA click-through, demo exits, and form abandon rates whenever possible. Once you dig into key metrics that reveal stall points, you can start asking yourself deeper questions. Like, are people booking demos? Are they just not showing up? Where is that bottleneck? Is there a long wait between proposal and decision? And are deals dragging well over 45 days with no significant updates? Of course, people are going to have objections, and it's your funnel's responsibility to go ahead and solve for those objections early on. To quote former CRO of HubSpot, Mark Roberge, conversion rate is a lagging indicator. Time in stage is a leading one, so it's important to track both. What this means is that you can't stop at aggregate conversion rates. Those by themselves are incredibly misleading. You need to bundle your data into KPI by funnel stage, track how long people sit in the demo booked stage before the call actually happens, and then measure how many marketing qualified leads become SQLs and why they graduated. So here's a pro tip. Create benchmarks for each stage. Here are ones that we recommend. When you're graduating from TOFU to MOFU, that is top of funnel to minimum of funnel, that should take about 3 days, less than 3 days. Going from MOFU to sales qualified lead or an SQL should be less than 5 days. And then going from an SQL to a closed won state should be less than 21 days. If there is a prospect that is sitting in your sales funnel for more than a month, then the problem is you, not whether or not they're ready to close on a deal with you. Use these as baselines and segment as source. Organic leads move differently than outbound. It's very important to know the difference. Let's look at a little mini case study here. On one of our clients' projects, we found that the average lead was spending about 8.5 days in limbo between booking a demo and actually showing up. When we dug in to find out why, we realized that the thank you email had no calendar link. Duh. And we ended up adding in auto scheduling in pre-demo nudges to go ahead and drop that time to demo down to about 2.5 days. That alone saved a full week off of the sales cycle and kept those clients warm throughout the whole process. They were able to ride that wave of excitement that they felt when they realized that they landed on a page for a company that was going to provide them real value and they needed to learn more. The longer you wait, the more opportunity your competitors have to jump on that lead. And this is what I mean when I say make the problem undeniable. When your dashboard shows 47 leads stuck in the same stage for 2 weeks straight, it becomes impossible to ignore. Suddenly, the team doesn't debate what's wrong, they can just see it. They have an actionable item and metrics that are staring at them in the face, saying, hey, go fix this. This is where you're losing revenue. Funnel friction doesn't fix itself. You have to find it, you have to expose it, and then you have to attack it relentlessly. Without measurement, there's no improvement. Without visibility, conversion rates die in silence. So get to measuring and keep yourself honest. Accountability is key here. Chapter 2, align messaging to awareness stage. One of the biggest funnel killers isn't technical. It's not your CRM, it's not your conversion rates, it's messaging misalignment. If your copy doesn't match where your buyer's at in their head, then you've already lost them. You're either going too fast, or you're answering questions that they haven't asked yet and don't fully understand. In every sales journey, your buyer is moving through different levels of awareness. It's important to remember where they exist and meet them where they are. At the top, they're problem aware. They know something's wrong, but they don't exactly know what the fix is or where to go to find a solution. In the middle, they're solution aware. They're looking for comparative options, they're weighing trade-offs and feature lists. And at the bottom, they're product aware. They just need that final proof and that last little nudge to push them over the edge to sign with your company. What slows buyers down isn't your pricing. It's the mismatch between the question they're asking and the answer you're giving. The truth is, most enterprise customers will pay much more than your current asking price if they clearly understand the value that your service is providing and trust that you'll be able to deliver. I'll give you a real-world example here. We worked with a vertical SaaS company selling workforce automation, and their homepage was absolutely swamped with individual feature demos. Their homepage was effectively a running list that looked like a YouTube library. Before the user even understood why they should care about the whole product ecosystem, they had effectively been forced to sit through multiple 3 to 5 minute feature previews that they didn't even know if they cared about yet. The fix here was that we rewrote the top of funnel to focus purely on the emotional pain points first. So instead of having the primary messaging be, we are an AI-powered scheduling platform, it became, are you tired of double bookings and no-shows? Here's what to automate first. We were selling the value in the end state of what the user would get from it rather than just calling out what we are. The result here was that we saw a 2.3 times increase in CTA engagement and demo signups doubled as a result. To give some deeper examples of funnel stage here and what you can do with them, how you should be communicating to your prospects at each stage. When you're looking at TOFU, top of funnel, this is problem-aware messaging. You should be focusing on pain recognition, symptoms, emotional resonance, giving them that aha moment of, hey, I need to dig deeper into this product. Here, you should be using blog posts, founder point of views, things like why this problem matters to you content. An example headline in this situation will be why your sales team is losing deals before the first call. Then we tackle MOFU, middle of funnel content. Again, this is solution-aware messaging. Here you should be offering clear comparison guides, feature explainers, webinars, ROI calculators, create versus pages. So for example, HubSpot versus your custom CRM. Which one wins for AI startups? Another example CTA could be, how did X company solve this problem with your tool? Last would be your bottom of funnel or your BOFU. This is the product aware, deal ready messaging. Here you want to be highlighting proof through case studies, testimonials, ROI statistics, analyst quotes. Use urgency and mirroring of expectations. An example subject line here for an email would be, here's what other CTOs said after switching to us. That is creating a direct relationship between successful CTOs who have moved to their company or your product and the CTOs that you're trying to sell to. Hey, don't you want to be like all of these other people who've already found success on our platform? Is that you, or are you one of those other CTOs who are just going to fall to the wayside? Buyers don't move linearly. They always seek emotional logic. If your message is one step ahead or behind, you break momentum, and that's a killer for your funnel. Here's a mini case study for an AI analytics platform that we were working on last year. After auditing their content, we segmented their lead flows by awareness. New organic traffic saw pain point blogs and diagnostic tools. Retargeted visitors got feature walkthroughs and how we compare emails. And then warm leads got things like 5 reasons why their competitor switched to our product. The result here was that their demo to close rate jumped a staggering 22% quarter over quarter. This is all through marketing sourced pipeline. And here's the reality. Your buyer is on a journey. Your job is not to drag them through the funnel kicking and screaming. It's to meet them where they are, build trust, and then guide them forward. When your messaging evolves with your buyer's awareness, the friction disappears. Momentum stays high, conversions move fast, and it's really just not all about the copy, it's about cognitive empathy. If you demonstrate a product and solution knowledge all the way through the funnel, you earn trust, and therefore you earn more signatures. Chapter 3, leverage AI automation and remove friction. Let's talk about the part of your funnel that's killing speed and no one's owning it. It's not the leads, it's not the sales, it's the lag time between stages in your sales process. Every hour that a lead sits untouched is an opportunity for somebody else to close them. Every hour a lead sits is an untouched opportunity for somebody else to close them. Odds are it's going to be one of your competitors. Most of you are letting time kill your pipeline. This is because you're trying to scale with manual systems. A way that this bleeds into real life is that your sales rep could be getting a demo request at 4:45 or 4:50 before they're about to clock out for the day. And they say, oh yeah, I'll just go ahead and do it tomorrow. But they don't. It takes them another day or two, or best case scenario, it takes them till noon the next day when your competitor is already closing on them. Because people want a solution now. This is where AI comes in. AI is not just a buzzword, it's a velocity engine for your business. It turns human delay into automated momentum. Utilizing tools like AI SDRs allow your organization to pounce on warm leads within seconds of a prospect clicking on that Get More Information button. And that is a game changer for your business. Let's say you have about 300 inbound leads this week alone. How do you know which ones are gold and which ones are just noise without burning your sales team out, making sure that they get onto every single demo call possible? Predictive lead scoring solves that. Here's how it works. 1, you pull behavioral data. This is things like pages visited, time on pricing, demos clicked. You combine that with firmographic data like the company's size, the industry, and the tech stack that they're using. Then you use AI to rank which leads are most likely to convert based on historical win patterns. Looking at a Forrester B2B automation report from 2023, they quoted that lead scoring powered by AI is like having a pre-sales team working for you 24/7 behind the scenes. It's like an intern that never gets paid and never goes to sleep. It's a win-win for everybody. Here's a pro tip for our viewers. Use tools like MadKudu, Breadcrumbs, or open source options like Mautic and Clearbit that can implement this for less than $500 a month, or less if you open source it and just run off your own models. When you take insights from your funnel velocity, it requires real-time intervention. Velocity insights tell you where time is dragging. If a lead is stuck in a demo scheduled for 6 days away, you shouldn't really wait until day 7 to ask why. You should know on day 2. You should act and you should bump that time up. The longer you let them sit in a given funnel stage, the colder they get, the less likely they are to want to work with you. If you're not eager to earn their business, they're not going to be eager to give you money. Use AI to track things like average time on each pipeline stage, trigger alerts when velocity thresholds are exceeded, and then predict which accounts are slowing down based on their behavior, and then nudge them accordingly, ideally through email nurtures. One of our clients was a B2B AI startup using Clearbit Reveal and HubSpot to score anonymous traffic. When return visits from a known ICP account exceeded 3 page views, an auto alert was triggered to send out a personal email from our sales teams. That sequence alone led to a 12% lift in meetings booked because there was buyer intent here. Whenever possible, automate handoffs, follow-ups, and sequences. The hard truth is that if you're relying on a rep to remember to follow up, that's a bottleneck. AI should be doing your first, second, and third touch at this point before a human even steps in. The great thing is, most people aren't even going to know that it's AI. They just think that it's a rep that they're sending emails to. Automations that increase the sales funnel would include auto-syncing leads into your CRM, dynamic nurture sequences that adjust based on engagement, things like opens, clicks, and even no responses is an engagement or a lack of engagement that you can flag. And then auto enrollment to chatbots, demo flows, and retargeting sequences based on user behavior. To quote David Cancel, CEO of Drift, automation is what lets you scale intimacy without scaling headcount. As a pro tip, you can pair Instantly AI for outbound with a tool like Customer.io for lifecycle management and intent tools like Leadfeeder or Albatross to adjust sequences on the fly. Links for those tools in the description below. Here's a fun reframe for how we talk about AI. It's not a replacement, it's a multiplier. And I hear this fear a lot, especially with all of the work that I do with artificial general decision making through Clover AI. Whereas we're worried about AGI, artificial general intelligence, taking over all of humanity and replacing us out of the entire workforce. AI, as it stands right now, is not here to replace marketers, sales reps, or anybody else on your team. It's here to amplify your team and allow them to get more done in the time frame that they have to work. So here's a recap frame. Humans are absolutely wonderful at nuance, building trust, and closing engagements. AI is unbeatable at speed, consistency, and scale. Together, you can remove friction, you can shorten sales cycles, and you can scale revenue with less operational drag. The hard fact is that AI lets you to respond at the speed buyers actually expect, even when your team's asleep. Buyers expect there to be a near instant response to their demo request. That's something that most human teams simply can't sustain. Your buyer's attention is a limited window, and every manual delay to your funnel is time that they're spending looking elsewhere. AI makes your funnel feel frictionless, from the first click all the way through a closed won scenario. If you're not using automation to speed up how you sell, you're giving that advantage over your competition, because I guarantee you they are. Chapter 4, optimizing the velocity formula. If you want to move faster, you need to stop guessing and you need to start calculating. Funnel velocity isn't just a feeling, it's a formula. It's math. We figured it out, you just need to follow the equation. Too many founders try to increase revenue by brute force, by more traffic, more meetings, or hiring a dozen new sales reps, when that's not really what they need. What actually moves the needle is improving how your funnel performs per unit of effort. Marketing is sales at scale. You'll hear me say this all of the time. The formula is pretty simple. Pipeline velocity equals the number of SQLs times win rate times deal size, all divided by the sales cycle days. Each variable is a growth lever, and when you improve even one, you increase the revenue velocity. And when you increase multiple, that's when you start compounding results. Let's break this down like we're 5. Let's talk about SQLs. You don't need more leads. You need the right leads. SQLs, or sales qualified leads, must match your ideal customer profile, or you're just burning time. There is such of a thing as a negative dollar. A customer that doesn't really serve you and that you know your product really isn't built for. Don't chase their revenue. They're wasting your time, your resources, and your energy. Here are some tips on how to increase high-fit SQLs. You need to tighten your ICP. Take a close look at your ideal company's size, what vertical they're in, what their budget is, and the stage of problem awareness. Run segment-specific lead magnets or intent-driven ads, and use enrichment tools like Clearbit, ZoomInfo, or Apollo to pre-qualify those leads before they even touch your sales rep's desk. In one case, we were able to reduce total leads for a client by 28%, which might seem like a big red flag, but the number of SQLs actually increased by 44%. That's velocity that matters. We stopped flooding their sales team with calls that weren't going to go anywhere, that weren't going to be deals that they actually valued or weren't going to have a high lifetime value. This customer was probably just going to come in, test out the product, stay for a month or two, and then churn because it wasn't really for them. And they started being able to focus their time and attention on customers that were actually going to be able to scale and grow on their platform. Number 2, win rate. If your win rate is under 20%, then you don't really need a bigger top of your funnel. You need a better middle of your funnel. And that's where sales enablement and positioning really do the heavy lifting. Here's a few ways that you can improve this. You can align sales scripts with real buyer objections, give them talk tracks early so they know exactly when that objection comes up. They can just go to a certain slide or a point in a document and just read off a quote. There we go. They're ready for everything. Arm your reps with competitor battle cards. Make sure that your reps know exactly what the competitor pricing is, what the competitor feature set is. Make it really easy that they can just look at a glance on the call and be able to regurgitate that information. It also helps to have, bi-weekly or monthly competitive trainings. As a PMM, I would do that all the time. At least monthly, I would meet with my sales team and be like, this is the state of the market. This is what you need to be looking out for. This is what this competitor just came out with a couple of weeks ago. Our customers or our prospects are going to be asking about this to see if we have feature parity. Be ready for that answer. Here it is on the pipeline or on our roadmap, and we're going to be delivering this in the next 2.5 months. You can answer, for that, rather than just being, I'm going to have to get back to you. I'll email you and follow up. No, you want to have an immediate answer, even if it's not the answer that the customer might want, like, hey, we don't have this. Giving them an immediate, honest answer is going to build trust immediately. Third here would be to pre-qualify leads harder. So the ones that you do send out to your sales reps are actually warmed up and closer to making a buyer decision. So that way your sales reps aren't having to spend the first two meetings teaching them about what the product actually does and why they're on the call to begin with. To quote Jill Conrath, author of Selling to Big Companies, when marketing and sales speak the same language, win rates soar. And from personal experience, this is the value that PMMs or product marketing managers who act as a liaison between cross-functional teams bring to the table. They ensure that everybody is aligned with the same roadmap, the messaging is clear across all departments, and our kick-ass talent is actually pushing the boat in the same direction. There is nothing worse than the sales team not knowing what's actually on the development roadmap, over-promising, under-delivering, and then the prospect who graduates into a customer hearing a vastly different narrative from the customer success team than they heard from the sales team. Sometimes it can feel like the customer is getting ping-ponged between completely different companies based on how the sales team versus customer success is talking about a company, and that immediately erodes all trust that was gained during the sales process. Number 3 on this list is deal size and strategically packaging those deals. So deal size isn't just what you charge, it's how you package that, how you price it, and the problem that you solve through that price point. Here's ways to increase your deal size without creating a lot of friction. Bundle services and features into outcomes instead of value. Offer annual plans or ROI anchors, and use tier pricing to frame higher tiers as the smart option. This is something that we did with the newsletter that we were launching, where we had 3 tiers. It was a free tier, a standard tier, and then a premium tier. And what we did was we priced that middle tier closer to the premium tier to make it seem like the premium tier was the no-brainer option where you would get the most value from. To tie this into a Dippity client, we worked with a startup who sold about $500 a month per seat license, where most of the customers were acquiring about 2 to 3 seats on average. They were seeing the service as a cost center rather than a value engine. It was a necessary feature or necessary platform that they needed just to run their day-to-day business. But by repackaging the offer as $1,500 a month for a team-wide intelligence plan that could hold up to 5 seats, we anchored it by value instead of by volume. They ended up doubling their average deal size without increasing the customer acquisition cost. And when you anchor pricing to a transformation instead of by transactions, you break out of this whole per seat pricing and you end up creating a revenue multiplier as a result. Number 4 here is working on your sales cycle days or using time as a lever. Speed doesn't necessarily increase volume in and of itself, it increases likelihood of a close. The longer your deal drags, the less likely it is that it will close, because it gives more time for them to go ahead and doubt why they're in your sales process. It also gives them more time to go ahead and manage a relationship with a competitor. Here's a few ways that you can shorten your sales cycle. You can automate proposal generation and onboarding steps so that way you're not waiting for a human to manually flip each switch along the process. You can preempt common objections in your nurture sequence by sending emails answering commonly asked questions that might trip somebody up through the sales process. You can also set urgency triggers, things like calendar scarcity, expiring offers, or project timelines. To quote a Dream Data B2B metrics report, a 10% shorter sales cycle means 10% more pipeline velocity with 0 extra ad spend. Double tapping on the Dream Data report, let's say that you increase your SQLs by 20%, your win rate goes up by 5, and your deal size up by 10%. You end up shortening the sales cycle by a staggering 15%. The result of this is that the pipeline velocity increases by over 50%, all without adding a single person to your team. This Dream Data framework was published in their 2023 B2B SaaS benchmark report, and it holds true across most sales cycles between 14 and 90 days. So try and use these as a benchmark of what you want to hit. Funnel velocity isn't really just this magic do-all button, it's math, it's motion multiplied. Again, it's a formula that once you start plugging into, things run smoothly. When you pull all 4 levers, volume, win rate, deal size, and speed, small improvements stack up quickly. And the beauty is that you don't really have to max out any one lever. You can just move them all slightly forward and your revenue engine starts compounding like crazy. If you want to know which lever in your funnel has the biggest upside right now, we run velocity audits at Dippity for funded startups who want to turn funnel drag into daily revenue. So feel free to reach out. We can do the math together. Chapter 5, continual experimentation and trust building. Here's something that most founders get wrong. Funnel velocity is not a set it and forget it project. It is not something that you fix once and then walk away from. It's a system. It breathes. It changes. And if you want it to keep accelerating, you need to do 2 things: constant experimentation and relentless trust building. Something that had worked in Q1 may not necessarily be working in Q3 as your product evolves, as your ICP evolves, and as the market changes. Velocity, simply put, equals trust plus continued iteration. It is experimentation that turns into compounding precision. If you want to move faster, you need to continually test what's slowing you down. If you think your funnel is like an engine, then you're always tuning it. New CTAs, new page layouts, new deal flows, and too many teams here stop testing when they see traction. Here's what you can test constantly. 1, your CTA copy and placement. This would be like trying the difference between get your report or see how you rank. Different audiences will respond better to different call to actions. 2, form lengths and step logic. Oftentimes, we find that multi-step forms outperform one-page forms or one-page landing forms. We want them to build trust and get multiple clicks through the process, get multiple yeses. That again builds trust and gets them more invested in the process. 3, demo flow entry points. Exit intent triggers versus one-time on-page versus scroll thresholds. Looking at how users are engaging with your content and seeing what their session journey is like and then optimizing accordingly is incredibly important. And then again, for your button hierarchy, so your primary versus your secondary CTAs based on behavioral heat maps. Pulling from a quote from Andrew Chen of A16Z, speed without iteration is just guessing faster. I can't note enough how trust is the fuel for faster decisions. You can't accelerate through doubt. If a buyer doesn't trust you, speed backfires. They hesitate, they loop in more stakeholders, and then they ghost you for 3 weeks. And that's why trust signals are your funnel's force multipliers, especially in the MOFU and BOFU stages where buyers are the most skeptical. Here are some trust signals to embed. Logos of recognizable customers should be somewhere above the fold on your homepage. Customer video testimonials should sit near your CTAs. Quantified outcomes like reduced churn by 41% in 90 days. Share case studies whenever possible. Security badges from third-party integrations and analyst mentions go a long way. If you got posted in a IEEE or a Forbes article, go ahead and post their logo as well, saying we have been featured in these other reputable locations. Also, having a why choose us page with brutal transparency about what you do, what you don't do, and who you give a shit about servicing goes a long way. Again, this circles back to not every dollar is a good dollar. Some customers will just drag you down. Some customers will keep you from getting to your goal because they're going to be spending so much time trying to accommodate your product, which wasn't built for them, to keep them. Don't do that. You'd be better off to turn them away or turn them to a competitor, which also will build trust. It may seem counterintuitive, but make sure that you're very clear about who you want to serve and what the ideal customer will be, so that way your product can shine in the best light possible. Tying this back to a Series A that we worked with, we moved a 2-minute customer testimonial above the fold on the pricing page, and we saw an average time on page jump by 61% within the month. Those demo requests doubled within 4 weeks. Trust builds speed, and without it, every single stage slows down. By having them spend more time on the pricing page and getting real customer testimonials, they didn't have to go through all of this tension with our sales reps, knowing a sales rep is trying to close them. There's a little bit of defensiveness in their walls up, even if they are super gung-ho about joining, your company or signing on to your product. Hearing it from other customers who have no real horse in the race is a green light or a green flag for them, saying, hey, these other customers have found the same kind of success that I'm trying to. I trust this. They made it through the other end of the process. They weren't hosed. They actually ended up unlocking value, and they're willing enough and they have a good enough relationship with the customer success team to get on a call, record themselves. They didn't have to do that. People are busy. So get as much user testimonials as you possibly can as well, and make sure to clearly place them all over your website. This isn't just all about vibes, man. You need to actually measure trust building initiatives and experimentation performance just like any other revenue metric. Here are some key KPIs that you should be tracking here. So time on your bottom of funnel pages, people should be spending about 2 to 3 minutes on here. If they're a buyer persona, somebody that's an actual decision maker, they should be spending about that much time as a strong signal. That should also be a big green light for your sales team to start reaching out to them. Engagement lift on testimonial sections, so the scroll depth, the click to expand on videos, and the replay percentage of your videos as well is a strong indicator that they were getting value from those testimonials. Form completion rates is a huge metric, and conversion from retargeting flows. And then of course you should always be A/B testing your lift across CTAs, hero blocks, and lead magnets. Those are things that you can always be shifting on a monthly basis. Weekly would probably be a little bit obsessive, but always have different versions of the same pages, or just constantly be testing new forms of content to see what your audience is biting on. Pro tip here is to assign each asset to a baseline benchmark. So review them quarterly like you would any of your ad campaigns. If a testimonial has a 90% bounce rate on it, then it's not really building trust, it's breaking it, and it's time to get that off of your website. Let's close this all up talking about feedback loops to drive exponential growth. The truth is, velocity does not come from volume. I'll say that again. Velocity does not come from volume. It comes from iteration. It comes from learning loops. It comes from trust that removes hesitation throughout the sales funnel. When your content, your data, and your tech stack all feed into one another, you create a motion that sustains itself. Trust accelerates velocity. Velocity reinforces trust, and together they create growth loops that scale infinitely. If you're serious about velocity, don't just look at how fast you can move a lead from click to close. You need to look at how fast you can learn, optimize, and earn belief in your systems. Funnel momentum is built by systems, not by sprints. If you want help speeding up your funnel, Dippity works with seed and Series A tech startups to implement smarter systems with no guesswork, just real funnel velocity. If you liked this, please feel free to like and subscribe. Leave a comment about your current bottlenecks. I will check the comments and try and answer any of your questions as they come in. And please feel free to give me any feedback, as these videos are still a relatively new thing for me. Also, feel free to check the description below. There are loads of free content pieces in my blog. I have well over 100 blog articles that walk through everything in a step-by-step process of how to actually do this if you'd rather read than listen to me yap for however long this video is. Also, feel free to check any of my other videos. I'm sure I'll try and find a way to have them float there, I think, or that direction. Any of these ways, there will be videos, on my channel. I don't know how often I'm going to be posting. Right now, apparently I'm going to be posting every day moving forward is what my current goal is. But, it might be, 2 to 3 times a week. That's all for me. Ciao.